What are cold spots and where can you name a few of these cold spots in that when it comes to social mobility?
Yeah, so the interesting thing on cold spots and what we mean by cold spots and hot spots are where you have good social mobility, and cold spots are where you have poor or low social mobility. And the interesting thing about it, it's not a north-south divide as many people think. It's right across the breadth and length of the country. So, for example, I don't have the list in front of me, but Thanet in Kent is a cold spot. And there are others. But the interesting thing is that geographically, a cold spot can be right next door to a hot spot. And why is that? It typically tends to be for a variety of reasons. One is that there are less professional and managerial employment opportunities in those areas. Two, there tends to be fewer schools with outstanding Ofsted reports. Three is there tends to be poorer transport facilities, etc. And it actually, this it's not cut also by the political divide. So, just as many as those cold and hot spots are in Conservative hands versus Labour hands, for example, it tends to come down to those issues. So, and what you tend to see as a result of that is, and it's very hard to move out of those cold spot areas, particularly if you don't have a family environment that enables that to happen. One of that is driven by money, but also if you've got your network around you and you don't have a network elsewhere. So Jess mentioned she has some support in London. If she didn't have that support in London, she probably would have found it very difficult. She's an exceptional person, so maybe she would have got over it, but very difficult to move away from Norwich. And I'm not saying Norwich is a cold spot, but I'm using that as an example. It's very difficult to move out of those areas. And therefore, what you have tends to be generation after generation that are unable to move out of low-paid employment, if indeed they have employment. And that's not a good thing morally. It's a terrible waste for society, and it's not, it's a great example of inequality, and more needs to be done around that. Now, there are, I think, 20 cold spots that have been recognised by government. They've put in place specific funding in those areas. There's some good improvement happening. More needs to be done, and it's more than just those 20. But hopefully that sort of brings it to life what a cold spot and a hot spot is. But they're right across the country.